We recognize tonight, Lord, that you are sovereign, that you are the King of the universe.
In Alabama, just about everyone would say they're Christian, and more than half the Christians would say they're evangelical.
You are the benefactor, Lord, of all of our blessings.
Evangelicals believe the Bible is perfect truth, the ultimate law, from which everything flows, even the United States Constitution.
We thank you for our Constitution that secures to us the right that we can have freedom of religion.
At this particular moment, though, it is the Constitution, not the Bible, that offers the surest escape from the deeply troubling moral question.
That he is innocent until proven guilty.
Is a man accused of molesting children fit to be a United States Senator?
Thank you.
A competitive statewide election is about as rare as a snowy morning in Alabama. But there you are. Every once in a while, it happens. And it's happening now, because for a significant number of people, this has become a head-shaking moment of national embarrassment.
Dear America, we're sorry. I'm speaking for all of us here in Alabama, even if some of these people will never apologize and never believe that they've done anything wrong.
Political columnist Josh Moon, born and raised in Alabama, has written especially acidly that the Senate candidacy of Roy Moore represents the predictable Alabamaization of American politics that he foretold a year ago with the election of President Donald Trump.
And I told you last November that no amount of lowering expectations could possibly prepare you for the river of lunacy that was rushing towards you.
Where Birmingham comes to talk. WZRR, WAPI, Birmingham.
More than a dozen women have said that Moore either asked them out or that he dated them when they were teens and he was in his early 30s. Moore has denied the allegations.
To recap the contest, Democrat Doug Jones is a U.S. attorney who gained fame for prosecuting two members of the Ku Klux Klan nearly 40 years after they murdered 4 black girls in the infamous Birmingham church bombing. The Republican Roy Moore is a former Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court who was removed from the bench for disregarding court orders. He was elected to the court a second time and removed a second time for disregarding the U.S. Supreme Court. He's being accused by 2 women of committing sexual crimes against them when they were girls. And yet, it's a close race because this is Alabama and because Roy Moore has managed to turn the moral character issue back against Doug Jones by bringing up his liberal views on abortion.
Doug would have helped himself a lot, no matter what his thoughts on abortion were, if he had just said, you know, I am a pro-life Democrat here. I believe that there are instances in which abortion should be legal, but I am a strong supporter of life, however we can make that happen.
You had your hand up first, so I'll go with you.
Thank you, sir. I just would like to know what you would say to those who've chosen to support your opponent, Mr. Moore, because they believe that the issue has now become abortion.
You know, look, my stance on that is well known. It has been clarified. It has been misinterpreted over the time. It has been clarified. But you know what? People are going to vote on issues of the day. If that's their issue, that's their issue.
The fact remains he supports Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court's decision legalizing abortion, and that puts him on the wrong side of things in socially conservative Alabama. At the Biscuit King's Fun Barn in Fairhope, Alabama, not far from Mobile on the Gulf Coast, you'll find the famous biscuits in the oven, the 10 Commandments on the wall, and Roy Moore at the cash register. You're like the Colonel Sanders of the biscuit business, but you're a king, right?
I would say this, if you want what we got, you got to come to us, because we're the only one that has our unique ugly biscuits. Oh, what a beautiful day.
That's the way he starts his day all the time.
For Willie and Nancy Foster, Alabama's biscuit king and queen, supporting Roy Moore is the only option they'd ever consider.
You're wondering why. It's our core belief, you got to understand, you know, like we have the same beliefs that Roy Moore has.
Also, they have some skepticism about the women making accusations against Moore.
What about the ladies themselves? What about their backgrounds? Who are they? Who were they? Did they maybe entice Roy Moore to do something along the way? or what is their background? Do they have anything in their background that they may be ashamed of?
Bottom line is,
We're conservative Christians, you know, that's just basic what we are.
that's basically what most people are at the Fun Barn. Val Keith and Arthur Frago come in just about every morning.
We see things more black and white, yes and no, right and wrong. Nowadays, there's just so much of this gray area. This is okay today, but it wasn't all right, you know, a while back.
You'd think credible accusations of child molesting would be as black and white as you could get, but no.
I was always told that you're innocent until proven guilty. I mean, we're getting a lot of innuendos, and some of these ladies, it may be true, but we have no proof.
If you are going to vote for Roy Moore, then you're saying the women are lying?
No, I'm not saying anything.
You know, there may have been teenagers and he didn't date them, or women without the permission of mom. Okay, you can make your judgment call how you feel about that. But there are really two women that we're talking about when people attach the word pedophile to him.
Beverly Young Nelson and Lee Corford. Beverly Young Nelson I discount until she produces the yearbook.
Oh yeah, sure, of the yearbook, right.
There's no legitimate reason why she wouldn't produce the yearbook.
In the dying days of the campaign, Roy Moore's guilt or innocence seemed to boil down to the question of whether he wrote in accuser Beverly Nelson Young's high school yearbook when she was a teenager. To a sweeter, more beautiful girl, I could not say Merry Christmas. Christmas 1977. Love, Roy Moore. A handwriting specialist said Moore did write that, but that he didn't write the date below his signature, as young Nelson had said previously.
The truth is out there, and until
the Roy Moore team grabbed that thin sliver of doubt and claimed total victory.
And under the Alabama pattern jury instructions, it tells a jury, if you believe that a witness has lied in anything, you can disregard everything they've said.
We all think Roy Moore's a creep, but we don't know if he crossed the line. It's somewhere in the middle. Who do you believe? Who do you not believe? You know, it don't fit the pattern.
Well, this is what I would say to your dilemma, though. Not voting is a choice, too. When's the last time a Democrat...
We've been listening to Matt Murphy's show for a couple of hours, but he's been hearing this same back and forth about Roy Moore and the accusations for weeks.
You know, I have to vote my morals. Well,
and it's exhausting for him and for all of Alabama, he says. At the heart of it is a suspicion that Eastern liberal media, especially the Washington Post, fabricated the whole thing.
And they make no bones about it on the air. That the Post came and found women to make up stories about their candidate. That's the way they believe. And it's not a small number of people that believe this in Alabama. I mean, there's a considerable percentage. And these are folks, I've described it, they take it on faith that they know Judge Moore. It's very religious for them. And I think in order for them to believe some of these accusations, they have to examine themselves as much as their candidate about what they've believed about that person for the last 20 years. So that's very hard to do, to look inwardly over the last 2 weeks of an election cycle like that.
This is going to be a really, really important election for Alabama, and we hope we can count on your support.
Democrats haven't seen an opportunity like this in Alabama since late in the last century. They hit the phones day and night, working to get their vote to the polls on Election Day.
We're so glad to hear that you're a strong supporter.
But just about everyone we spoke to agreed the odds still favor the candidate accused of child molesting.
On December 12th, you'll see an election that the world won't forget.
And his spokesman, Dean Young, says to some degree that's because President Trump supports him too.
Yeah, I think that's got a lot to do with it. Our president's respected, and he is the head of the party.
So do you think this is a tight race?
No.
He's not expecting a Democratic wave like the one that swept Virginia last month to sweep Alabama on Tuesday.
The Democrat wave will end in Alabama. They won't win. Judge Moore will win.
Okay.
He will. What?
Trump has stayed out of Alabama, but Friday night he had a rally in Pensacola, Florida, just across the state line.
So get out and vote for Roy Moore.
Can anything show they hold you in more total contempt than what they did to Judge Moore?
His main strategist, Steve Bannon, has been in and out telling people that the election is a referendum on the Trump agenda.
Steve Bannon has done nothing. He's done nothing but land in front of a guy with folded hair that happened to racist his way into the White House. And that's his claim to fame. He's done nothing other than that. And the idea that he's swaying votes, nobody who would be swayed by Steve Bannon wasn't already voting for Roy Moore. That's just a fact. So,
how do you think it's going to turn out?
I think probably Roy Moore's going to win. I mean, I don't want him to win, but I think he's probably going to win.
Timing is everything in politics, and the initial shock of the allegations against Moore has had time to melt away. And with it, perhaps the hopes of Democrats that credible allegations of child sexual assault might be too much to stomach, even in Alabama. On the other hand, if Roy Moore is elected on Tuesday, Democrats will never let anyone forget that when it counted, Republicans, and the Republican president especially, were all in for an accused child molester. Keith Bogue, CBC News, Fairhope, Alabama.